There are several strategies on how you get your foot in the door and land your first cybersecurity job. You might be thinking of certifications. You might also be thinking some super elite technical skill. The real answer might not be what you expect, but has been proven time and time again to be more effective than both of those. We're going to talk about what that is, and at the end, I'm going to give you a challenge that will accelerate your cybersecurity career. Some would argue getting your first cybersecurity job is one of the hardest things you'll do. And no wonder, some of these statistics make you wonder how you'll ever get a job. For example, on average, each job offer attracts over 250 resumes. Of those, only 4 to 6 will ever get called for an interview. So when you break that down, that means that only 2.5% of the people who submit a resume will actually get a job interview. 2.5%. But there is one statistic that you may not have been expecting in that. 85% of those jobs are filled via networking. That's right, networking. We're fond of talking about hacking things around here. So let's hack this system of hiring. But just like any good hacker, we have to understand how that system works. So let's talk about how a typical cybersecurity job gets filled at most organizations. Step one is that the hiring manager will oftentimes ask internally to that company or to their closest network of people first before that job ever gets posted onto a job board. Step two, after it goes live on a job board, they will then use their social network. Now, that's typically LinkedIn in today's modern job force. They'll use that social network to ask that network if they know of any candidates. Step three, they will then often reshare any company post that's made from that organization and reshare that out to their network as well. And so finally, they'll leverage any candidates that internal human resources, recruiting, or outside recruiters bring in. As you can see, this right here indicates the sheer value that networking can have on your career. If you look at step one, step two, and step three, it all revolves around that networking. This is why earlier in 2021, while I was doing a video with my good friend David Bombal, I talked about taking my 1,000 connection challenge. So what is that? In the 1,000 connection challenge, I'm challenging all cybersecurity professionals to increase their network of connections by 1,000 meaningful connections. Now, that's an important distinction and one that I think oftentimes gets lost when I talk about this challenge. I want you to make 1,000 meaningful connections in the cybersecurity space. Now, this is very realistic to do. You can realistically start today with 0 connections, and you can realistically achieve 1,000 connections in less than a month or even less than a few months. LinkedIn's daily connection limit is really only anywhere between 80 to 100, depending on your reputation for your connections. Therefore, this is completely achievable for you to do today. Now, many of you are saying, well, Neil, how do I do meaningful connections? Well, I'm going to show you a demo here next, and I'm going to show you exactly how you make meaningful connections. Let's talk about how we make those 1,000 meaningful connections on LinkedIn. There are 3 things that I want you to consider as you're going through and making these connections. First and foremost, I want you to find people that you admire in this industry. Second, I want you to find companies that you either admire or would like to aspire to work for one of these days. And then finally, I'd love for you to be able to find job titles and job positions that you would love to be in, either next or at some point in time down the road in your career. Using those 3 things as a baseline, that's how we're going to look for our 1,000 Connect challenge. So let's head on over to LinkedIn and let's see what that looks like. So we're over here on LinkedIn. Now, let's say that I've always had a desire to work for a gaming company. I think a gaming company would be so fun to work for, and I'd really love to do cybersecurity for a gaming company. Now, I'd really love to do pen testing, but I'd also be okay doing a SOC analyst job Whatever the case is, I just want to understand what security at a gaming company looks like. And so over here on LinkedIn, we're going to start really, really simple. Up here at the top in the search bar, we're going to search for a company. In this case, we're going to start with Activision, the company right here. We click on Activision. So from here on the Activision page, you can see that I only know one person that works here at Activision, and I want to increase that because I want to know more people at Activision. Hopefully, eventually, I'd like to get a job working in security at Activision. I'm going to simply use this 2,455 employees, and I'm going to click on that. And as you can see, LinkedIn gives us some refined search that shows us all of the people whose current company is set to Activision. So up here at the top in the search screen, we're going to search for security. Once that loads, you can see that now we're seeing all of the people who have some version of security in their name or title that works at Activision. Now, this is a good sign. This tells us who we've got that's working at Activision. We see that we've got a Director of Global Information Security Detection and Response at Activision. You can see here indicated by the second that I'm not connected with Kimberly Hall. You know what? I would really like to connect with Kimberly Hall today. Now, before we connect with Kimberly Hall, this is where most people will say that they have the biggest problem with this challenge, is that most of you will simply send a connection request and have no message associated with it. Some people like to view things as binary, good or bad. I like to view things on the scale of good, better, best. Some of you are doing this for the first time. Some of you are very nervous about that. And so that is okay to embrace. So let's talk about good, better, best. A good connection is one where you at least got out of your bubble and you sent that connection request. No message associated, nothing like that. A better version of that is where you do include a personalized message. The best version of that is where you really research the individual, you understand something about them, and you send them one that actually resonates with them on a personal level. And so that's what I would encourage you to think about. You should always strive for the best possible meaningful connection that you can. However, we all have different personality traits, and if you can only do good, good is better than nothing. So always remember good, better, best in this exercise. Now, back to some of our examples. Let's take a look at Kimberly. We're going to simply open her up in a new tab, and we're going to take a look, and I'm going to show you an example of the best type of connection request we can. So I see she's Director of Security Detection and Response at Activision. She's worked at Booz Allen. She's got some endorsements. Oh, I'm going to send her a connection request. We're going to click on connect. We're going to add a note. Now, what do we do for a note? The best version of this is, Kimberly, I see you spent a good amount of time at Booz. We'll even acronym it, as most people know. Does that mean you did some work with the government / military? As a former U.S. Air Force cyber operator, I'm always looking to expand my network. Would love to connect with you. So as you can see, this is an example of a best. I took something that she's done in the past and I've made it relatable to me. I've made it personal to her. This is the example of the best possible thing that you could do for a connection. We send that, and let's go over and let's see who else we can talk to over at Activision and security. So we scroll on down. Oh, we have a Senior Director Online Security at Activision. That seems like a very, very good connection for us to have. Let's show an example of better. So one down from best, but still a good opportunity for us to make a connection. We're going to connect. We'll add a note. Okay. Thanks for accepting my connection request. I've always had a desire to work at a gaming company in cyber and would love to network with you. Just like that. So that is an example of better, right? It's not as personal. It's very top level. That's an example of better, but it is still a good connection request. Okay, now let's do one more example. Let's talk about just a generic run-of-the-mill connection. You simply find somebody that you want to connect to, you hit connect, and you hit send. And that's it. That is the good, better, and best on how you make meaningful connections. Where do we go from here? First and foremost, you can start with me. Send me a connection request on LinkedIn today if you haven't already. My LinkedIn will be in the description below. From there, use the network to your advantage and find connections that match your desire to grow in this industry. Also, make sure you check out our website at cyberinsecurity.tv for more resources in addition to our social media accounts. Finally, make sure you are on our Discord. We have a completely separate channel titled LinkedIn Connection Lounge that allows you to connect with other cybersecurity professionals like yourself across the spectrum, whether you're just getting into cyber or whether you're a seasoned veteran. Remember, whether you're on the red side or the blue side, keep learning, and we'll see you on the live stream on our YouTube channel.